Hello everyone, I'm asbestos attorney Justinian Lane, and today we're going to talk about how different industries used asbestos and the associated health risks to industrial workers. But let's start with a brief refresher on asbestos first. Asbestos refers to a group of 6 naturally occurring minerals that in their raw form appear as simple rocks, just like this one. This is chrysotile asbestos, which is the most common type of asbestos. When chrysotile rocks are processed, they can transform into strong, lightweight fibers like the ones you can see in this test tube. This is chrysotile fibers, and these fibers are resistant to fire, electricity, and heat, and they actually have a stronger tensile strength than steel. So asbestos was used in a multitude of industrial products like insulation materials, fireproof clothing, ceiling and floor tiles, and even fireproof papers and felts. Besides its versatility, asbestos was also inexpensive and easy to manufacture. Those factors led to its widespread use until the health risks of asbestos exposure became widely known. Now, there's no safe level of asbestos exposure, and even a minimal exposure can elevate someone's risk of developing certain asbestos-related diseases. However, most health issues arise from substantial exposure to asbestos, often occurring in industrial settings. Jobs in certain industries carried a heightened risk of asbestos exposure and consequently a greater risk of developing asbestos-related diseases. The construction industry used asbestos extensively for all sorts of applications. Now, of course, there's the vinyl asbestos floor tiles that you've seen. There are roofing shingles, there was drywall, joint compounds, lots and lots of products. And I've got a couple little samples to show you here today. These colorful things are very rigid and durable. You can probably hear that. And let me read you what it says on the back. It says, a completely inorganic exterior grade, steam cured, asbestos reinforced panel with a permanent all mineral enameled surface, guaranteed color fast for a minimum period of 5 years. So this stuff was both really cheap and really durable, so it was used extensively, products like this, that would have been reinforced with asbestos. And with asbestos, this is perfectly safe for me to handle, but it wouldn't be if I were to start drilling it or sanding it or doing anything like that, sawing it in half, all of the sorts of tasks that construction workers did on a daily basis. So anytime construction workers were building something new, they would have been working with products like this. And if they were renovating existing structures, tearing old things out, it would have been the same story. Now, I watch a lot of home improvement shows. I enjoy those. And I see sometimes on the older homes, I just cringe because I can tell, that's asbestos right there. Yep, that's an asbestos product, and there's no protection whatsoever. Just like the original workers who installed that probably didn't have any protection either. Because asbestos products were used so widely for construction, anybody renovating an older home should absolutely be careful, and anybody who worked in the construction industry in the 60s or 70s or early 80s was probably exposed heavily to asbestos in their job. As I said before, asbestos exposure can cause a number of serious diseases. Before we talk about those diseases, let's view a medical animation illustrating how asbestos actually causes those diseases. Our law firm worked with a leading medical animation company to develop this animation, and it accurately depicts the disease process.
When we breathe in foreign particles, we cough to expel them from the airway. But asbestos fibers are tiny, indestructible needles that can embed themselves in the lungs or the pleura, damaging the tissue and causing hardened scars. In response, the body sends macrophages to digest and expel the asbestos fibers. But the sharp asbestos fibers pierce the macrophages, killing or warping them. This causes the macrophages to send the wrong chemical messages that cause the growth of carcinomas. Asbestos fibers also release free radicals that further damage the lung tissue and cause diseases to form. Not all of this damage is immediately visible, but over 20 to 50 years, asbestos can cause breathing problems like asbestosis, as well as mesothelioma and lung cancer. Similar processes occur when a person swallows asbestos fibers, and those fibers can cause throat cancer, stomach cancer, and colorectal cancer.
Mesothelioma is the most notorious disease linked to asbestos exposure. This rare and aggressive cancer is caused almost exclusively by asbestos exposure, and it affects the mesothelium, a thin membrane surrounding our internal organs. There are only about 3,000 mesothelioma cases diagnosed annually in the US, and our firm has been successful in obtaining substantial compensation for our clients with mesothelioma. Besides mesothelioma, asbestos exposure is also linked to lung cancer. While there are other causes of lung cancer, such as smoking, individuals who smoked and were exposed to asbestos industrially face a significantly higher risk than non-smokers exposed to asbestos. Because the asbestos industry hid the risks of asbestos exposure to both smokers and non-smokers, we've been able to secure millions of dollars of compensation for people who developed lung cancer, regardless of their smoking history. As you saw in the animation, it's the inhalation of asbestos fibers that leads to mesothelioma and lung cancer. Inhalation of asbestos can also cause throat cancer, including both laryngeal and pharyngeal cancers. Breathing asbestos can cause cancer, but so can ingesting asbestos, which often happens accidentally when people have their mouths open around asbestos dust. Ingesting asbestos has been shown to cause stomach cancer and colon cancer as well, and we've obtained meaningful compensation for our clients with those cancers. In addition to cancer, asbestos exposure in industrial settings can also cause asbestosis, a non-cancerous but serious lung disease caused exclusively by the inhalation of asbestos dust. Asbestosis occurs when inhaled asbestos fibers permanently damage lung tissues that are needed to process oxygen. While asbestosis is rarely fatal today, it can be, and we've been privileged to represent a number of families who lost a loved one to asbestosis. As I said though, most cases of asbestosis are nowhere near fatal, but people with even mild cases of asbestosis are often entitled to compensation for their injuries. That's because the asbestos industry knew in the 1920s that their products caused asbestosis, but they concealed that information for decades. If you've been exposed to asbestos in an industrial setting and developed a related illness, we can help you in obtaining the compensation you're owed. We can obtain compensation for you from asbestos trusts, we can file an asbestos lawsuit on your behalf, and we can also assist you with collecting any disability benefits that you're entitled to. Let's talk a little more about those options. The primary focus of our law firm is obtaining compensation from the various asbestos trusts that were set up by the courts to compensate people who developed an asbestos-related disease. Right now, there are about 50 trusts that are accepting and paying claims. Obtaining settlements from the asbestos trust does not require filing a lawsuit, going to court, or being questioned by a hostile attorney. The majority of our clients receive settlements from multiple trusts, often dozens. Individuals with mesothelioma or a life-threatening cancer may see their first settlements within 60 days from retaining us, but our typical client begins receiving settlements after about 6 months. How much money a person receives from an asbestos trust depends in part upon how sick they are. The sicker a person is, the higher their settlements will be. Many of our clients are interested in suing the companies that exposed them to asbestos, and we can of course assist with that as well. Because every state has different laws regarding asbestos lawsuits, all I can give you in this video are some broad principles that apply in all 50 states. Asbestos lawsuits take longer than asbestos trust claims do, but settlements and verdicts can often exceed the amount of trust fund settlements. Some states allow an injured person to sue his or her employer for exposing them to asbestos, while others require the injured worker to file a workers' compensation claim, which we're also experienced in doing. Finally, our office can help with asbestos disability claims. There are 2 types of asbestos disability claims: Social Security disability claims and Veterans Administration disability claims. Eligibility for both types of claims are based upon whether a person's asbestos-related illness leaves them medically unable to work. And of course, Veterans Administration claims are only available to veterans. If you or someone in your family has developed an asbestos-related illness, the law only gives you a certain amount of time to seek compensation for your injuries. If you wait too long, you won't be able to. So please don't wait too long to contact me, or we may not be able to help. Thanks for watching, and I hope you'll consider giving us the opportunity to help you and your family.